Professor G. Ramesh is a highly experienced professor of management from IIM Bangalore. Uh, he worked at IIM Bangalore for decades, and then he now moved to JAIN University. He is now working at JAIN University as a post-retirement professor there. Uh, he, as an IIM professor, worked on different areas of management. And during that time, he conducted a research on Kumbh Mela, and he's going to present us his report on from his research on Kumbh Mela. The title of his talk is "By Grace of Ganga Mai, Managing a Temporary City on Sand." Professor G. Ramesh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I mean, I think at one level, let me explain where we come from. You know, in 2013 Kumbh Mela, the UP government invited, or I mean, the Harvard Business School offered to conduct a study on the Kumbh Mela, Prayagraj, and they did a study and went. In 2019, when it started, the UP government felt that we should have an institute from India studying this because one might miss the spiritual and then the cultural connotations of that. And so they wanted one institute, and IIMB offered, and I led the team. So that's where I come from. I mean, and I almost spent about 2 months' time during the 2019 Kumbh Mela. Rather, went about 8 times during that period of 2, 3 months. And it was very, very immersive experience for me. I mean, and I'm a professor of public policy, and what I saw and what I felt really uprooted me. Second thing is that, like you are saying that you invited papers and you didn't have overwhelming responses like that. I found this was one lack now in the sense that, I mean, now you heard Professor Dubeji speaking about that. I mean, so we have very few people like Dubeji really venturing and doing research into this area. You don't have really many research papers and studies on Kumbh, which is a tragedy because, I mean, this is one of the most celebrated event of India, and every 3 years somewhere it's happening. And I don't know why it doesn't attract anybody. I mean, either the historians, religious people or sociologists. It's a great, I would say, research site for everybody. So I also took it in that spirit, and so it was one of our motivation. And third thing I would say, why this Ganga Mai? Why this Ganga Mai? Because I mean, during the Kumbh also, and later when I presented to the top management of the administration, and also all the people involved in the administration. So I asked this question, what went right? Okay, normally we ask this question, what went wrong? But I thought, I mean, it was really fantastically organized program. And I mean, I would say one of the best outcome of that was that it was event free. Okay. So I asked like what went wrong. So the unanimous response individually by everybody was that it was Ganga Mai's blessing. So I used to see that even in normal conversation when the administrators are having with their people or subordinates, they'll keep dropping this word Ganga Mai. And I'm also convinced if I looked at really the complexity, because we study this complexity economics, complexity systems and all other things. And I would say that, I mean, there is a hidden hand which has.
Yeah.
So, in fact, why this temporary city? Because, in fact, the Harvard book the title itself is called Ephemeral City. Okay, the Kumbh Mela, and then it really comes up on the sand after the river recedes. So it's not like, I mean, you can even plan how the river will recede and how you can plan out. So they will have plans and contingency plans, and finally it really lands it. But I'll tell you what is the meaning of temporary city and planning on a city as we proceed and like that. And so just quick statistics to, yeah, I mean, he has spoken about Nasik already, Maheshji. And so let me quickly throw some light on Prayagraj, just to show the complexity. One, as he said, Prayagraj is lucky in the sense it has got a huge vast of land in which it can be conducted, unlike Nasik, which is a small area, Ujjain, or even the Haridwar. So those are very small stretches in which one has to do. But I mean, Prayagraj, they got a vast area to plan. And in fact, if you look at it, its area is 32 kilometer. If you see in the 2019, and New Delhi is 42 kilometer, and Manhattan city is 59 kilometer. So you can imagine a temporary city comes up where, let's say, like, at least there are on any day, some 20 lakhs people will be staying on that. All these people are Akara, their groups, and then, Prayagraj, and then Pandas, and all those people, pilgrims, and so many people, the vendors and all, if you look at it, 15 to 20 lakhs people will be there, then the floating population. And given that the city population itself will be between 15 lakhs to 20 lakhs, like that. And it's a very long stretch, not a 1 day affair, 2 day affair one can manage, but it's really about runs for 45 plus days. And then there are five main snars, which are the most complex things to be managed. So last 2019, they had about 25 crore floating population. So, and 5 crore is on the monomas, which are the most important. I mean, it comes in the middle of the Mela period. And so the whole system is designed for these monoamas. So other amasas, they breathe, you have sigh because you already built for the capacity of 5 crore. Others could be like 1 crore, 2 crore, 1.5 crores, and like that. So their challenge is building it for the full capacity so that other ones can be really managed. Now just look at it. I mean, if you look, and one other thing they decided it will be a Swachh Kumbh. So they made it like, they had about 1 lakh plus toilets, 11,000 sanitary workers, 850 kilometers of drainages, 100 bed. I mean, if you had to really appreciate, you should know that when I used to stay in the tent, people used to say that in the past Kumbh Melas, there will be a bed of mosquitoes everywhere and you'll have to be constantly fighting it. That's why, in fact, one ambassador, one foreigner mentioned. I mean, last time when I came, I just couldn't sleep in the night, and this time it's so peaceful. So that's the sort of outcome that could really enjoy. And then it was water free, and then I would say that very dust free. I mean, sorry, the garbage free and like that. So they could ensure that Swachh Bharat. And in fact, one day I walked from the railway station to the Ghat area in the morning to see if there is any open defecation happening. In fact, it was not there. So that's the biggest achievement that I was really seeing it. Of course, I'll also tell you where the spirituality is involved in that. So I, in fact, asked once few people. I mean, we used to keep doing on the flash service. I asked like, normally one will have the tendency to keep spitting and things like that. I said, how come it's not there? They said, no, no, we are going for an important snan, so obviously we cannot do that. So a lot of self-regulatory, self-compliance is happening so that it made the job of the administration simple and easy. And of course, they planned for 500 cities. These are all based on the past year experience, past Kumbh Mela. And then about parking lots for about 5 lakh. These are all very mundane things I'm presenting. I'll come to the really the, very interesting ones. Then 141, kilometer of Mela roads built. Mind you, these are all happening between November and January. And with the checkered plates and like that, they don't put a road so that it shouldn't damage the river bed also. So they have to leave the river bed as they found it, so that next time when there's a flood, it will wash off whatever is left behind. And they don't really leave behind any structures and materials like that. All those things are removed. I even waited for 1 more week to see how is the riverbed after everything has been cleared. So it's really a huge effort. So what's the outcome if you ask me? One is incident free, infection free, and seamless flow of people. In 2019, there was an accident in the railway station. It happened actually, not in the Kumbh Mela area. What happened? The people entering the station and coming out of the station came face to face, and then there's a stampede, and quite many people died. So this time they ensure that the people really don't face each other. The going, I mean, entry is one side, exit is one side throughout the Mela side. So that way there is a seamless flow, and it was infection control. I mean, I will tell you the statistics of the healthcare and all that. I mean, somebody asked about food. In fact, one thing I would like to say that this is where again the spirituality of the whole Mela comes. There is overall ambience of charity and then giving. So there are all these akadas and pandas and like that managing the food, and then the kalpavasis, and they ensure that nobody goes without food. If somebody is not having food, maybe it could be upvas. Otherwise, everybody had food. They can just walk into any of the akadas or kalpavasis and eat. I also done that, and and they are all very decent and good, very well organized. I mean, it will keep on going on the people, and then they kept serving it. And you can just donate whatever you feel like. There's no compulsion. Nobody will ask you. So that's the sort of spirit and ambience that you find. What's the important thing is that so that nobody you feel that, I mean, there's just no interference with your spiritual experience, which is the most important. So the government organized makeshift ration shops, officers are posted there, provisions, rations cards. These are the people, Kalpavasis, and people who will be staying there for the next 2 months. Temporary ration cards were issued. And there is a milk booth. Somebody asked about provision, food and milk and like that. And imagine there are 10 lakh Kalpavasis. I mean, they could come from all over. I mean, they could come from Bihar, UP, Madhya Pradesh. These are the main states, also Maharashtra, Karnataka, and like that. And there are statistics about how many rations, I mean, kerosene and like that, ration cards and vending zones. So it's really a huge effort which goes on for probably 18 months. They start at least 18 to 24 months before the Mela. Like Mr. Mahesh said, he was just posted probably a year before, and then he has to quickly ramp up on the plan. So that's the beauty. And I mean, no government can really take a chance. And when I started studying this, before I got into this, I wanted to get a contextual familiarity of the Mela and how it was in the past. Then I found that, it was going on. There were instances about how Mughals treated it or how, let's say, Britishers treated it. Britishers, in fact, of course, could be one reason they cite is the fear of infections, explosion of infections. They might be worried that they are getting, it might catch up with them. They may not be worried about probably Indians getting the infection, but catching up with the Britishers. Now, they controlled it tightly. They even put pilgrim tax on them. And they also feared in a post 1857 that this could be used for, spreading freedom messages and mobilizing like that, which also happened. In fact, somebody asked, what is the benefit of this Mela? Before independence, in fact, these were also used for social messaging. In fact, even I think 2013-19, it was used for social messaging where you will find certain messages communicated, but in a very positive sense about the health and things like that. But in the previously, it was all about the freedom and about our own India, heritage, Bharat, and like that. So it used to happen very informal. Everything is informal. It used to happen. One group will decide and it will do it. It's like that. And that was the beauty of the whole organization. The Britishers tried, but still, even probably as early as, I mean, Professor Dubey can correct me, probably even as early as 1937, I mean, those before independence, you had like lakhs of people visiting it, maybe 30 lakhs, 20 lakhs, and things like that. When our population was probably 25 crore or something like that. So, I mean, that's the sort of, the scale that you're really looking at. Now, if you look at the ecosystem, I mean, you are speaking about it, Mr. Mahesh. So, you will see, we discuss administration, but their beauty is they are just invisible and they are on the sides. The main actors are the sadhus, akaras, sankracharyas, mutt sons, saints, pandas, and then kalpavasis. I mean, I might have missed somebody. I mean, he was talking about Peshwas. And so they're all there. I mean, in fact, they control the whole thing. I mean, for example, once the land is allotted to the Akara, within the Akara area, they manage it. Okay, they manage whatever happens there. They manage their food distribution and their own, the way it will come up. Though, accepting that, of course, from fire point of view or security point of view, administration may advise them, but they decide their own, even the interiors and tents and plans and like that. Again, who are the other guys? With pilgrims and tourists. I mean, I make a distinction between pilgrims and tourists. I mean, I do find that I, the guys who really walk from neighboring districts, UP, Bihar, and all, they are really the genuine pilgrims. Like the guys who climb up the Tirupati hill. I mean, rather than the guy who walk in with the tickets and like that. But then I used to find that the people coming by flights from other places and landing there and living in special tents and like that, they are the people who had, "Oh, it could have been better, they could have done this, they could have done that, like that." But if you really talk about the pilgrim, they just didn't mind it. They carry you would have seen what we call as Irumudi, which Ayyappa Bhaktas carry on their head. Something like that they carry. Just take any position on the riverside, just start cooking there as a family or as a village and share among them. And mind you, there was no plastics at all. I mean, somehow I don't know how they controlled it for the crores, lakhs of people who came because they had their own way of packaging, and then it was probably biodegradable, I would say, whatever they carried and like that. So these are all great practices I wrote about in my report. How the old practices, if you look at, they didn't really pose a threat to ecology or all the wastages, that solid waste that we talk about like that. So there are all these pilgrims and tourists, and I'm sure even the tourists, when they come, they would have been impressed by that. In fact, I think the government had organized about 130 ambassadors from Delhi to visit there, and I think they visited Varanasi also. So they had a very glowing experience. In fact, there was even for the tourists, there was even the selfie point. The government has created all over, and they even loved it. Then the media, then there are the Prayagraj residents. Of course, he said that the city residents they leave the place, but I felt the Prayagraj residents are very happy to accommodate. And in fact, invariably, all their relatives land up during this period and they are mentally prepared for all the hardships of those 3, 4 days only. I mean, this time they made it very easy for them. In fact, I moved around easily within the city. I mean, I used to walk at least 20, 30 kilometers you had to walk, but otherwise it's a very seamless experience and they never had any problem in getting water or power or any provisions like that. So that way, I mean, there's a city area and the Mela area. I mean, you can live independently, though they will visit the Mela area and then come back like that. So they try to ensure that the Prayagraj citizens are not so impacted like that. But I mean, they are part of the Mela, and they had pride in being part of the Mela, and they always, I mean, look forward to this Mela every 6 years and like that. Then, of course, there's the government, central, state, and there are agencies. And if you say central, I mean, even security is the biggest thing. I mean, so there's a parallel thing that goes on behind that. And of course, the vendors. So if you look at it, this is the whole ecosystem. But what I want to stress in simple point about this slide is that the focus of this is all these sadhus and akhadas and sankracharyas and like that, pilgrims, is really not about, I mean, ration, how do you deliver ration or healthcare or food? That was all invisible. People assumed, and they were not really concerned about that. And many people, they had visited in the past and they know what to expect, and they were really taken aback by what they saw and like that. So I talked about, I mean, what sort of, I mean, the so facilities that was provided and also about but what exactly the ecosystem and who is the center of the ecosystem. They are the center pillar of the ecosystems. And what is the complexity that I'm talking about? In management, we talk about VUCA word, that is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. I mean, what can be more ambiguous than, I mean, he talked about the planetary positions and all, they are predictable and they are predicted probably even hundreds of years before, millennium before, like that. But there is a volatility about how the river will behave. And there was some problem in 2013, and then river really can play truant. I mean, and then there's an uncertainty. I mean, on any day you cannot predict how many will land in the city. There's no control mechanism on that. Then the complexity system means basically several multiple independent entities. I mean, you can say colliding with each other or cooperating with each other or negotiating with each other. So if I told you about the ecosystems, then you have all the government's own independent entities. Then you have all these people who are just individuals. I mean, pilgrims and tourists who are visiting, and they can behave in any way they want. They're the complete freedom. In fact, nobody even does the booking and all. There are a lot of accommodations available. They just took it, pay 100 rupees, 200 rupees, and then they say, and if you want to enjoy, you have to enjoy it like that, not in a hotel. I made the mistake. First few times I stayed in a hotel. Later I try to stay in the tents itself. Then only you really enjoy the spirit of the Kumbh. I mean, then the themes of the last one was really, and which is what characterizes the Kumbh, the previous Kumbhs is Divya and Bhavya. I mean, it's really the grandeur and it's really the spirituality. I mean, that pervades all of aspects of the Kumbh. Even when you arrange logistics also, you'll have, say Divya and Bhavya. I mean, the way this government organized and the previous also the way it has been. This time they added in line with the central government objective Swachh Bharat. So they also made it Swachh because you see, I mean, when you go as a pilgrim, increasingly people's expectation today will be different from the people's expectation in 47 or maybe 17 like that. They expect a clean ambience. Even I'm saying the people from the rural areas and like that. Nobody, they're always. I mean, who knows? Many people would have been put off thinking there could be dysentery, diarrhea, and flu and things like that. So it's important to provide that. And Swachh was really stressed a lot. And so also you had the grandeur you can make out the way they really delivered the whole program. And they also talked about brand Kumbh. I used to tell them, why do you have to promote? You send some, I think Mahesh ji said, I think you don't have to send an invite like Eiffel Tower. So I said, why are you branding and promoting? Everybody knows about it. But the point is, I think there is a need to break through some of the stereotypes about Kumbh. Kumbh is like this organization, systems and places, and will you get really the spiritual experience like that? No, they really ensure that they all got it, and to really promote the positives of it, so that in fact they wanted even a lot more. Middle class and people well-to-do and young. I saw a lot of youth coming there, women coming there. Young women also coming there, the whole family coming there like that. So that way, I think that making it brand comb really helped in attracting a diversity of people. Otherwise, probably, they might have ended up attracting only the nearby folks and rural folks and like that. Then each comb is unprecedented in the sense that, I mean, I used to wonder, normally government goes by precedence. What happened last time? So here, every time 6 years, people could have retired, transferred, gone somewhere. They may not remember. There might be some document, but that's not a good enough. So they all remember as stories, images, and experiences like that. So these things really a good learning for me as a management professor. How can organization take away from this, and what can it take away? Then everything is ephemeral. What happens is that in the end, when you see, and I used to feel sad. It was such a great place, such a vibrant place. After a week, it was like, just a scrap. And then they were removing everything. And I was told that next flood comes, it will wash off everything. And it will be again, Ganges would have enveloped it. That's the beauty of it. And then, of course, you have the resources. But one thing I would like to stress is the voluntariness. Like it's not only people tourism going, but there are a lot of volunteers. What happens is that I've seen NGOs now itself they have started planning what we can do there, how do we organize, how do you take groups and things like that, and how do you even use it for, they use like music program, bhajans and other harikatas and things like that. So everybody just individually plan. It's not like they are coordinating government and there is some super being coordinating all. There is a district Mela Adhikari and there is a commissioner, but they only provide the platform. Everybody like comes there, uses the platform and goes back. No, it's a platform basically, that city. And infrastructure, you are really preparing for a dismantleable city. Safety provided every. What's the outcome? Sant and sadhus had an experience uninterrupted, seamless in their own ways. You don't want to be really interrupted. In fact, once I will come next time, then the pilgrims experience and tourist experience, like they loved it. In the sense, I have a bath when I want, and I just stray around wherever I want. I sit and meditate wherever I want, like that, and all these things were there. And they're segregated. Like there are tourists, okay, there's a tourist tent and tourist place were there. For the pilgrims, okay, you want to go to the God's ashram there. Then for Akaras, they had their own space for their people to meet. And so that sort of segmentation is again one nice town planning that they did. Now, formal governance, I'm calling it formal because there's still the district, city, melas, then commissionerate, dominant. Imagine you are creating one whole district ad nova in a one sand, and then that again disappears. Now, only they got a permanent mela office there because every year there's a Mag Mela happening in the middle of Jan, but those are a very small size. That could be even like 20 lakhs, 15 lakhs, and like that. But they have got it. But for this, everything comes up near the beach. And it has handpicked people. And there'll be at least in each department, there'll be people who would have handled the past melas and like that. Like Professor Dubey was saying, no, he has been there from 1990s. Like that, there are people who would have done at least 2, 3 Kumbh melas, organized it like that. But beauty is everything fluid and unstructured. This is where I keep talking Gangama, Gangama. Something has to keep driving you some hidden hand to really hand all the flexibility and fluidity and like that. What is the outcome? I used to ask government people, those people, why can't it be like this in regular business, regular administration also? Invisible and non-invasive government, non-invasive and and of course I'll also add inclusive probably. Okay. And that's the beauty of it. And what is this? I call it really space. That's the ecosystem I call, then complexity, then formal governance, but there's a space. It's sort of symbiotic. He talked about the four cities, and there's something symbiotic, sir. Between among the Ganges, the host city Prayagraj, and Kumbh Mela. See, the Prayagraj itself is a heritage place. Bharadwaj Ashram is there. Okay. And then, mind you, that was at the banks of right at the bank of Ganges. They used to, oh, so much it has city has come like that, you know. So the city people value that there's a heritage to really be, gone and visited, and there is a river, Ganges River, and there's a Kumbh city which comes up. Nobody should really miss it, and nobody can really miss it. And it's unparalleled. I mean, can I have the Kumbh Mela, for example, let's say in Madras Beach or somebody Bombay Beach or something? You just can't. I mean, you won't get the spirituality. Then is unparalleled in the sense a host city of 20 lakhs supports 3 crore, 4 crore, and like that. So that's the beauty that you are doing it. See, I tried some comparisons, like, I mean, let's say Olympics or other places that happen. This is unprecedented, the sort of load that take. But the beauty is, I mean, those are all the stars visiting. Here, these are all simple people visiting, excepting the stars are Akaras are the stars there. Sports stars, you are here. These Akaras. And then town planning, I mentioned, I mean, it really starts after the water recedes from Ganges by November. And the beauty is, as I said, everyone can find a space for him. So I had an argument with that. I was interviewing somebody. He said, no, I want to sit in place and meditate. And then, but I didn't find, in this 30 square kilometers, you don't find a space. There's so much open space. You can just sit anywhere. And if you don't meditate here, where will you do that? I started arguing with him. What I mean by is that you want to be a tourist, there's a space. You want to be a pilgrim, there's a space. You want to explore, there's a place and like that. You want to go and listen to your music, there is, that's happening. So the government facilitated all. I'm sure before government also these things would have been happening, but now it's much more, organized and much more seamless. And then even the VIPs, it's non-inter. They had a separate road, they had separate track, and there is a separate green channel even for the ambulance, so that it doesn't disturb the rest of the people like that. You are with yourself. And I also could see a legacy and modernism. I mean, you can find very traditional people, Kalpasi, doing Vrat for probably days together, and there are all these modern guys, but they also merge. Everybody merges in that. If you don't merge, I mean, it's your loss. I mean, that's what I would really say, you know. And key learnings, what would you say? Everything revolve. I mean, it may be a big thing, Kumbh and all that we talk about, the planetary portion, but the real heroes are Naga sadhus, Akhadas, Pandas, Kalpas. But I mean, I really sympathize with all the journalists and reporters from abroad who go there. They are looking for the glamour of it, but probably missing the spirituality and then the heritage and then what they really mean and like that. And everything revolved around Mauni Ammasya. I mean, they'll say, wait, sir. I mean, this is nothing. Wait for Mauni Ammasya. So that day was really uprooting, if you want to see. There's a huge history and heritage to that. Like, I mean, Professor Dubey was talking about that. I mean, I missed all that. Today, I really picked up and then closed a lot of gaps that I had in my mind and like that, which also matters. I mean, if you want to enjoy the place, it's not like visiting, Gurgaon or something like that, which you just came now, and then you have all these metros and things like that. Then you have a, this is what it is, hidden hand. You find a unknown, all pervasive, invisible hand. I mean, suddenly you ask somebody, where can you get food? Somebody will direct you. How to reach the place? There is. And there's small crisis there, people just get together and then solve it. Somebody faints, there's somebody to take it. Somebody is lost and found, there's a way it gets handled. There was a formal way, but there are people helping it like that. So all along there's, and that people, something in the Ghat area, that is in the beach area, sorry, in the river area, the police were not, I mean, allowed to have even a lati, because they said even if they little bit they move or flash around also there can be a stampede. They have to just fold their hands and then direct the people like that. Okay. So it's very, unless people are really self-regulated, the systems are self-regulated, you can never manage this sort of crowd in any country, in any situation like that. So each entity is self-managing and merging. As I said, Akaras have got their own system of managing. Like you said, I mean, he said 8 crore he wants. So they accumulated it, they'll withdraw it, they'll get the provisions, and they know how to plan it. So administration doesn't plan for them. Then there's a symbiotic relationship. They respect each other. Akada. There's a protocols involved. Shankaracharyas were there, and all the important people are there. And like the way you visit an exhibition, everybody visits all the akhadas and all the pandas and like that, pay obeisance and come out. I mean, so that system is also set. I mean, and yeah, some of the system remembers. So it's what I call in management as a self-organizing configuring system. It organize, I mean, you tend to plan and all that, like Mahesh, you're saying, but later, I mean, there's a lot of self-organizing configuring system that happens that keeps these things going. And what's a big, I mean, what is the, another, some more thing? There are some societal memory. So there are the villagers who come, they know the route, they know the path, there's a leader, he takes it through. Then, as I said, there are social messaging that happen. Then people can tell you to come back what happened. Then there are people who talk about, they all get together. There's one, Akaras was saying, we ourselves don't know who all belong to, the sadhus belong to, but on that day, everybody comes wherever they are in the Himalayas or in the nation like that. So there is sort of, I mean, like you said, we don't send invite. That's of course there, but they somehow, I mean, I don't know, they don't have any calendar of what they follow, but on the Kumbh day, Kumbh period, they're all there. So there's a huge memory that's there carried by lakhs of people, crores of people there. It's very inclusive. I mean, you just can't make, everybody is very simple attire, dhoti, but you cannot make out who is who. And then you can just, the point is everybody can mingle. That's the biggest thing. And ambience, there's an ambience for charity. I mean, I believe Kumbh period itself is known for people to give donations like that, like Harsh Gupta period that he was saying like that. Then it's very frugal and minimalistic. The whole thing, of course, people talk about, I think last time they spent about, I don't know, 3,000 crore or something like that, but I would say that's very frugal for the raising a whole city, and the economics would have paid for itself. But I mean, if you look at the garbage that's created, some simple example, or you don't have any, star hotels coming up and things like that, but they all had a comfortable stay and then they all went back. And as I said, there's a huge social messaging that happens. I was in fact wanting to do study after having gone through and practicing this Swachh Bharat, do they carry it to their villages? Somehow I couldn't do that, but that sort of thing keeps happening. And in the past, they talked about, health messages the governments have passed. And I'm currently trying to do one, generative AI in Kumbh. I'm trying to can I create an LLM so that they get right images, I mean, I would say authentic messages about Kumbh and information and things like that. I'm working with the IIIT Prayagraj. Now I'll talk to Professor Dubey also. Thank you for introducing, and other people also in this panel. There's a Sanskriti Foundation. With them, I'm trying to study culture and Kumbh. Last time, for example, I did this study of nudging. Can you nudge people to behavior? Okay. I mean, whether it is sanitation or water or, health and things like that. This time planning to see how culture is again one of the hidden hand that I've been talking about, and the Kumbh. So this is what I wanted to really share. I don't know if it really met the expectations of the people, but I felt that I didn't want to really make it very management, because those are for me, I mean, just very plastic. I mean, I can just roll it out. I mean, then I can run, it's not like running an MNC or, corporate. There is something very underlying, there is something very spiritual, there is something very hidden. No, I just can't, capture it or put it in a framework or something like that. Thank you, Nagaraj. I mean,
Thank you, Professor Ramesh.